Hello, my name is Len Baer, also known as @PSardonicus on Twitter. And this is Havana Syndrome Media Update for August 26, 2022. Two days ago, the New York Times published an article by Julian Barnes titled CIA Begins Compensating Victims of Havana Syndrome. Indeed, the Havana Act, which Congress approved last year, provides up to $187,300 in one-time compensation to each eligible victim. Eligibility criteria are published in the Federal Register, and I will provide a link in the description. But what's peculiar about it is that not only those injured in anomalous health incidents may be awarded the compensation, but you can also qualify if you sustain permanent brain injury on the line of duty within a certain period of time. That's a little chaotic. However, the most scandalous part of this article comes in the form of a quote from Mark Zaid, an attorney who represents nearly 2 dozens of federal employees afflicted by Havana syndrome. And he says, government officials have viewed reports of anomalous domestic incidents skeptically. They do not want to acknowledge domestic incidents. Let's think about it for a moment. Domestic Havana syndrome attacks have been acknowledged by experts, civilians have been diagnosed, and these cases have been forwarded to various government agencies for investigation that showed zero interest in investigating these domestic cases. So government agencies are either in denial of facts or follow a predetermined narrative that Havana syndrome can only happen overseas. Either explanation has to be thoroughly researched, and I'm still hoping investigative journalism in the mainstream media is not entirely dead. Silly me. One telling detail about this article is that the printed version of the New York Times omitted the quote from Mark Zaid on government's lack of interest in acknowledging domestic incidents. Draw your own conclusion. Mirroring the same sentiment, journalist Sasha Inberg issued a report in Newsy just this morning called FBI Agents in the U.S. Report Symptoms of Mystery Syndrome. In this report, Mark Zaid once again provides most revealing commentary. He says, there have been double-digit members of the FBI, employees of the FBI, who have been injured in multiple locations inside the United States. These are cases that have been brought to the attention not only of the FBI, but also the CIA and the DNI and folks on the Hill. These have not been really publicized in any way. In fact, the reality is domestic incidents are being downplayed, if not outright ignored by the US government. End of quote. As you can see, a pattern is forming, and the government is either incompetent to address domestic attacks or willfully ignores them. Both options are equally terrifying, and I don't know honestly which one is worse. It is unreasonable to think that US intelligence doesn't know what these attacks are, which would signify our complete technological immaturity when it comes to modern technological threats, especially considering that US has been working on developing this kind of weapons for a long time. So the option number 2, to downplay and refuse to acknowledge these domestic attacks, seem more and more plausible. Of course, if you speak about it out loud, just like I'm doing right now, it will earn you a label of a conspiracy theorist. But remember, conspiracy theory is just a hypothesis about people collaborating toward a common goal outside of the scrutiny of the public eye. And finally, after this Newsy report appeared in my Havana Syndrome Google Newsfeed search in the early morning hours, it disappeared within an hour and never appeared again. I think the agenda to deny and downplay domestic attacks is becoming more granular and more obvious. That's all for this media update. Please post your comments on Twitter because I rarely check YouTube comments. Until next time.